Diversity in living organisms. In this video, we shall observe the diverse life forms on Earth. We can clearly understand the real beauty of nature from this video. If you have ever looked around you and noticed how different organisms interact with each other and their habitats, you probably have an understanding about the way nature works. Our planet Earth is one big biological system, and like all big things, this huge system is composed of smaller building blocks called ecosystems. Here you can see how each plant and animal differs from each other, how they are unique. Our Kerala is rich in biodiversity. We have different varieties of plants and animals. We can understand that the diversity is not only present among different organisms, but also individuals of the same organism. The size of the organism range from microscopic structures to very large structures like blue whale, elephant, etc. Hello children, do you all enjoy the video? Yes, it was a beautiful one, isn't it? The beauty of nature was clearly seen in that video. And the beauty was only because of the varieties of plants and animals present there. That is the beauty of our earth. That there are different varieties of plants and animals on earth. Today, we are going to learn something related to the diversity of living organisms. Living beings differ from one another in their size, color, internal structure, behavior, etc. Their size ranges from microscopic to large animal, for example blue whale. And the trees, some of the plants are very small, while some of the trees are very tall. For example, the redwood tree in California, which is almost 100 meters height. So, and another thing, when we take the lifespan, some plants and animals live, for example, some animals live for few hours, some for few weeks, some for many years. So from this we can understand that all organisms are not same. They differ. Even if you take different organisms of the same species, we can see that each one is unique. There is differences between each individual of the same species. You can just compare yourself with your friends in the class. Though we all are human beings, each one in the class is unique. Even the members of the same family is unique. But similarities will be there among the members of the same family, and the differences will be more when we compare the family members with someone outside. So from all these examples, we can clearly understand that there are differences between each and every individual on this earth. So today we will see how we can classify these organisms in order to make the study of each and every organism easy. In order to make the study of these diverse living organisms easy, we go for classifying them. So this classification or classifying living organisms had started from time immemorial. Greek thinker Aristotle classified animals based on their habitat. That is, animals which lived on land, lived in water and in air were put into different groups. This was not acceptable because, for example, corals, whales, starfish, all these animals live in sea. But do all these animals have the same characteristics? Are they all similar in all means? Definitely no. So this was not accepted by others. And always when we go for classification, we must think that which character should be kept as the base for classifying living organisms and which can lead to diverse life forms. Clear? A character is a special feature or a function. So organisms having almost the same characters or same features are put into the same group. Is it clear? So this chapter, diversity in living organism, we will be learning about how organisms are classified. What are the different types of classification? Next, we'll be learning about plant kingdom, how plants are classified. And third, we'll be learning how animals are classified, that is animal kingdom. That is the content of this chapter. Today, I'll be just introducing the chapter and the remaining will be dealt in the next class. So, I told you about classification. So, when we go for classifying organisms, initially the organisms on earth was classified only into two groups, two kingdom system of classification. That is plant kingdom and animal kingdom. It was later Robert Whittaker and Carl Woese classified the living organisms into 5 groups on the basis of their cell structure, nutrition and body organization. The 5 kingdoms were Monera, Protista, Fungi, Plantae and Animalia. We will be dealing about each kingdom separately in the next class. Further, these groups were classified or grouped into subgroups. For example, if it is plant kingdom or animal kingdom, I told you 2 kingdoms. This is further put into different groups. For example, subkingdom, phylum. If it is animals, it is phylum. If it is plants, it is division. Then class, order, family, genus and species. Clear? Which is the lowest level? Species. Many species of the same character will be put in the next group, genus. Same way, the genus, organisms coming under genus having same characters will be put on the next order, the next group, that is called as family. Clear? Likewise it goes. We will be studying all this in the next class. Today I just introduced the chapter, so you will get an idea about what is the content of this chapter. In this class, I would also like to revise the previous chapter, that is tissues. It is an important chapter both in the practical aspect and the theory aspect. So after this, we will just go through all the topics that we covered in the tissue chapter. This week, after the class, you will be attending a class test. For that, the portions will be tissue chapter. The questions will be asked from the tissue chapter, the whole chapter, not part wise. You had already written 2 tests or 3 tests part wise, particular topics. This test will be including the whole chapter. Please be clear with this. The test will be from the tissue chapter, not from diversity chapter. Now, we shall recall the main points in the previous chapter, that is tissues. The whole chapter will be included for this week's test. The first tissue is meristematic tissue. Growth of plants occurs only in certain specific regions, and this is because of the presence of meristematic tissue. It divides continuously and increases the number of cells. The meristematic tissue present at the tip of the plant is called apical meristem, and it helps in the growth of the plant. Second type of meristem is intercalary meristem. It is present below the nodes or below the petiole, and it helps in giving rise to new buds, leaves, etc. And the third meristem is lateral meristem. It is present in the cambium and helps to increase the girth of the plant. The cells formed by the meristematic tissue stop dividing and they attain a proper shape and structure. This process is called differentiation and the cells are called as permanent tissues. Once the cells lose the ability to divide, they are called as permanent tissue. Permanent tissue is of two types. They are simple permanent tissue and complex permanent tissue. Simple permanent tissue is of three types, that is parenchyma, collenchyma and sclerenchyma. Parenchyma cells are thin-walled cells. They have interstellar spaces between them. They are living cells. Parenchyma cells which have chlorophyll in them are called as chlorenchyma and they perform photosynthesis and they store food. Parenchyma cells in aquatic plants have large air cavities and they are called as aerenchyma and they help the plant to float in the water. Second tissue is collenchyma tissue. Collenchyma tissues have corner thickening. Corner thickening is due to the presence of pectin. The flexibility in plants is due to this type of tissue. It allows bending of various parts of a plant like tendrils and stems of climbers without breaking. The third simple permanent tissue is sclerenchyma tissue. It is the tissue which makes the plant hard and stiff. It is made up of dead cells and the cell wall is fully thickened. The thickening is due to the presence of a complex sugar called lignin. This tissue is present in stems, around vascular bundles, in the veins of leaves and in the hard covering of seeds and nuts. It provides strength to the plant parts. So among these three tissues, parenchyma tissue is seen in almost all parts of the plant body. Tissue is protective tissue. Under protective tissue, there are two types. One is epidermal tissue and other one is cork. Epidermal tissue covers almost all parts of the plant body. And one main part of the epidermal tissue is the stomata. Stomata is in the epidermal layer and it is through stomata that transpiration and exchange of gases take place. The opening and closing of stomata is controlled by the guard cells which are present on the either side of the stomata. When the guard cells are full of water, in the turgid condition, stomatas will be open. And when the guard cells lose water, that is when the condition is flaccid, the stomatas will close. Cork is formed, the cells of cork is formed just below the epidermal layer, that is in the cortical region, in the cortex. Cork cells have a complex sugar or a material chemical substance called suberin which makes it impervious to liquids and gases. They are dead cells. Next is complex permanent tissue. Complex permanent tissue is of two types, that is xylem tissue and phloem tissue. Xylem tissue consists of three types of cells. They are three elements. They are tracheids, vessels, xylem parenchyma and xylem fibers. Except xylem parenchyma, all the other elements are dead. So, xylem tissue is considered as dead tissue. Parenchyma in this tissue stores food. Xylem fibers are mainly supportive in function. Next tissue is phloem tissue. It is made up of four elements, that is sieve tubes, companion cells, phloem fibers and phloem parenchyma. Among these elements, except phloem fibers, all the others are living cells. So, phloem tissue is considered to be a living tissue. It conducts food in plants. Animal tissues. The different types of animal tissues are epithelial tissue, connective tissue, muscular tissue and nervous tissue. First, epithelial tissue. Epithelial tissue is of two types, that is squamous epithelium and stratified epithelium. Squamous epithelium is made up of flat cells. Stratified epithelium, if epithelium is made up of more than one layer of cells, we call it as stratified epithelium. Based on the shape and function, epithelial cells are of different types. They are columnar epithelium, cuboidal epithelium, columnar ciliated epithelium and glandular epithelium. Please learn the organs where it is present. Next is connective tissue. Connective tissue, as the name indicates, they are loosely packed, they are embedded in any intracellular matrix, and they connect different structures inside our body. The matrix may be jelly-like, fluid, dense or rigid. The different types of connective tissues are bones, cartilage, tendons, ligaments, blood, adipose tissue and areolar tissue. Blood is the only liquid connective tissue in our body. Tendons will connect muscles to bones, whereas ligaments is a connective fiber tissue which connects bone to bone. Cartilages are flexible, whereas bones are hard and rigid. Bones are made up of calcium and phosphorus. Cartilages are made up of sugars and proteins. Next tissue is muscular tissue. Muscular tissue helps in movement. There are three types of muscular tissue. They are striated, unstriated and cardiac. Striated muscle fibers are long and cylindrical. They have striations. They are multinucleate and they are voluntary in function. Unstriated muscles, they are spindle shaped. They do not have striations. They are uninucleate and they are involuntary in function. Cardiac muscle fiber, cardiac tissue. Cardiac tissue is long, cylindrical and branched. They have faint or light striations. They are uninucleate and they are involuntary in function. But the difference is that they work in a rhythmic manner. Next tissue is nervous tissue. Nervous tissue helps in conducting or transmitting messages from one part of the body to another. So the main function is in control and coordinating the different body parts. The nervous tissue is made up of neurons or nerve cell. That is a fundamental unit of nervous system or nervous tissue. Each neuron consists of three parts, that is, cell body is called as the cyton. The branch structures that arise from the cyton is called as dendrons and dendrites. And the single long thread-like structure or hair-like structure is called as axon. Dendrites will transmit the message towards the cell body and axon will transfer the message from the cell body to the neighboring neuron. So the end of the axon has got nerve endings or axonite tips which connects the neighboring dendrites. It is not touching each other. There is a small gap between the two neurons which is called as synapse. You will be learning detail in the next class. So this is the content of the second chapter, that is tissues. I have just recalled the main points so that you will be able to understand each tissues once again. So learn it, and this is the portion for this week's test. Thank you.